Hi there. Today on Book vs. Movie, I'm going on to Harry Potter 3, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, published in 1999. I've been doing a series on the origins of Harry Potter, and while I go through the sources for each of the books, I thought it would be fun to do a book versus movie for each one along the way. And what a pleasure that was for Azkaban. This is probably J.K. Rowling's most assured piece of writing. It hasn't yet become bogged down like her later books, and the writing is more confident than in the first two. I don't know if it's the best Harry Potter book, but it's possibly the best written. In addition to that, the Alfonso Cuaron directed film adaptation is one of the prettiest, most artfully made movies in the series. Film student types like to make a meal out of the film's camera work and shot composition, but it's also just a plain old good movie, and it was a lot of fun to watch again. So on to the book. Spoilers ahead in case anyone in the universe hasn't actually read these books yet. Book 3 starts with Harry home again for summer vacation, with the Dursleys, Harry's Aunt Petunia, Uncle Vernon, and their son Dudley. Harry's birthday is again forgotten, but his friends from school have sent birthday cards and presents. His Aunt Marge comes to visit, and she makes the mistake of insulting Harry's dead mother and father in front of him, causing Harry to accidentally inflate her, and she floats off. Panicked that he will be thrown out of magic school for this bit of forbidden magic, Harry grabs his stuff and runs away. He catches a magic bus that collects witches and wizards and takes it to London's hidden magic quarter, Diagon Alley. Here he is assured by the Minister of Magic that his blowing up of his aunt will be forgiven, and he is told that an infamous murderer named Sirius Black, who betrayed Harry's parents, has broken out of prison and is probably going to try looking for Harry again now too. Harry and his friends take the train to magic school, but it is boarded midway by Dementors, black-cloaked things that suck warmth and happiness from people. The Dementors are looking for the convict on the train, Sirius Black, but they don't find him. However, having the Dementors nearby causes Harry to pass out. Harry begins his third year at wizarding school, with Dementors guarding the boundaries of the school. Harry befriends their new defense against the dark arts teacher, Professor Lupin, who had been friends with Harry's parents before they died. Lupin teaches Harry a spell to repel Dementors. Harry's friend Hermione is constantly busy taking too many classes that semester, and she acquires a big ginger cat named Crookshanks, who seems to have it in for Harry's friend Ron's pet rat. Because Harry couldn't get his permission slip signed to go into town, Harry isn't allowed to leave the school with the rest of the third-year students. To get around this, Harry is given a magical map of the school from Ron's older brothers, Fred and George, which details the hidden passages out of the school into town. Harry sneaks through a hidden passage into the town of Hogsmeade. While he's there, he overhears more about how Sirius Black betrayed his parents. A hippogriff that scratched Draco Malfoy on the first day of class is set to be put down on the last day, and Ron's rat is found again after having been assumed dead, murdered by Hermione's cat. Then, a giant black dog drags Ron through another secret passage, and it turns out the escaped convict, Sirius Black, can shapeshift into a dog. Also, Professor Lupin is a werewolf, and Ron's rat is also a shapeshifter who has been living in hiding as Ron's rat for 12 years. The rat, Peter Pettigrew, had previously been a spy for Voldemort, and he had been the one who betrayed Harry's parents, leading to their deaths. Pettigrew had framed Sirius for the murders, letting him be sent to prison in his place. They all go back to the school to turn in Pettigrew to the Dementors, but things go wrong. Lupin turns into a werewolf in the light of the full moon, Sirius turns into a dog to keep Lupin from attacking the kids, and Pettigrew escapes again. A bunch of Dementors attack Harry, but are driven off by something. Sirius ends up captured and is given over to the Dementors so they can finally suck out his soul. Then Dumbledore tells Hermione to use her time machine, which she has been using to take extra classes, and she and Harry go back a few hours to fix everything. They nab the condemned hippogriff and use him to fly off the condemned convict, and Harry casts the spell that summons the Patronus that had saved his previous self. Sirius turns out to be a nice guy, as well as Harry's godfather, and wants to be friends with Harry, who accepts this more or less instantly. But Sirius has to escape on Buckbeak, and he promises Harry that they'll see each other again. Then the kids go back home for summer break. And that's essentially the plot of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It's kind of an odd book to summarize because so much of the actual plot is explained at the very end. There's 300 pages of Hermione's cat Crookshanks chasing Ron's rat around, and misdirects about who Sirius Black is actually looking for, with everyone assuming it's Harry, and a lot of time is spent in Harry's classes or with him playing Quidditch. But most of the actual plot happens in a few pages near the end. It goes by so quickly that it took me a couple of rereads before I got that Peter Pettigrew had been the secret keeper for the Potters. Somehow this detail had evaded me on previous reads. In their band of rebels, Sirius had thought Lupin was the spy, so the Potters gave their secret location to Pettigrew, who had immediately handed it over to Lord Voldemort. Pettigrew then managed to stage his own death and pin it on Sirius, who was then blamed for the death of a bunch of people and assumed to be Voldemort's spy. It took me a couple of reads for me to follow what happened with Pettigrew. It's all explained incredibly fast. It's a few sentences and it's done. I actually want to give a quick shout out to Crookshanks in this book. Going through the book this time, I realized that cat is almost the main character. While everyone else is stumbling around unaware, Crookshanks is a furry little secret agent. The cat is against Pettigrew from the start, and then starts working with Sirius, and leads the kids around. Quite a lot of the book involves people reacting to what Crookshanks is doing. Also, the first time I read this book, I was dead certain that Professor Lupin was somehow Sirius Black in disguise. He seemed to know a lot about the wizard prison Azkaban, and he seemed poised for a big magical reveal. I was actually really surprised that he wasn't Sirius, and that the big reveal was that he was a werewolf. And you cannot question that Hermione has a time machine. Yes, this book has a time machine. No one else ever has use of a time machine in Harry Potter, because it would break literally everything. The plots in these books are like carefully constructed spider webs. They look neat, but you can't disturb them because they will break apart in the slightest breeze. Thus, Voldemort can never have a time turner. Harry can't just grab Hermione's and spin it for all he's worth to go back and save his parents. The time turner only exists for Hermione to take too many classes and then for a giant undo at the end of this book. You can't start asking questions about time turners in Harry Potter because there is no end. The time turner is to Harry Potter what the giant eagles are to the Lord of the Rings. You have to just accept it and move on. Now on to the delightful adaptation of the book, directed by Alfonso Cuaron, released in 2004. The first two films of the series were directed by Chris Columbus, and the feel of them was a grand Christmas display in colors of red and gold. Everything in them is lush and vibrant and bright. The third film in the series takes a slightly darker turn. The color palette changes to dark blue and silver. Scenes become foggy, and the emotion of the film gets darker. A lot of people like to focus on this film's direction, with Cuaron's long shots or shots going through windows, but I'm going to take a slightly broader view. Yes, the directing is amazing, it's everything people say it is, but I would argue that the thing he does well is not get in the way of the story. Sure, there's lots of cool stuff happening technically, but it's all in service of the story. It would have been really bad had he been too artsy, with too many odd angles or obvious dramatic stuff. What I was impressed with was that he could do all of this stuff technically and have it help the story. So, Cuaron will use interesting sweeping shots through a mirror or a window pane, and it's not distracting, it actually helps establish the sense of magic in the film. This is not a normal world where normal rules apply. Even the camera shots feel like magic. I loved the feeling of enchantment in this film. It's a difficult thing to pin down, and it's the sum of a lot of things working together. It's not just the director. The screenplay is also very good. It condenses a huge amount of story into important segments. And the music is amazing. This film has a John Williams soundtrack that is particularly good, even for him, and it combines with a lot of these other elements in a way that creates this kind of alchemical feeling of magic. So it's not just that the scenes look great, or that the screenplay works, or that the music is gorgeous. It's that all of these things work together seamlessly. You don't even have to analyze it by its minutiae. Anyone can see that this is a good movie. As an example, there's a scene I really like. Harry and Hermione are waiting with Buckbeak in the woods, and a bunch of bats swarm out past the three of them, and Buckbeak starts jumping and snapping at the bats. There is a lovely bit of night music that plays as the camera sweeps through the forest. The scene doesn't come from the book, it's just there to be fun, to have a laugh at Buckbeak chasing bats around. This scene is the movie makers making something nice just because they can. And to me, this scene epitomizes the movie. It's gorgeous and cinematic, and it has beautiful music. Otherwise, the movie leans hard on the time travel aspect of the story. It spends something like half of its runtime on the night that Harry and Hermione do twice. And reasonably so, this is the most exciting part of the story. It's not that different from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where the future selves have to help out the past selves and not get caught. And, it's fun. Time travel works great in a film, which is why so many movies have time machines. The movie has a lot of fun having Hermione just show up in class and Ron ask her where she came from. The movie doesn't really change much from the book. Mostly it just cuts stuff for time or condensed things together. So Harry's birthday was skipped, and the movie starts right with Aunt Marge arriving. Most of Harry's stay in Diagon Alley is skipped. At school, almost all of the Quidditch is cut, and the anonymous gift of the Firebolt broomstick to Harry is moved to the end of the film, when Harry knows it's from Sirius. And we don't spend much time in Harry's classes except divination because it's part of the story. The movie did add one thing that I really liked. In the movie, Harry sees the name Peter Pettigrew on the Marauders map, and he goes looking to see who's there, but doesn't find anyone and is caught by Snape in the hallway. In the book, nobody questions seeing Pettigrew on the map until Lupin, who knows what it means right away. The movie gives Harry a shred of intelligence where in the book nobody ever asked why Peter Pettigrew was on the Marauders map. So for book versus movie, I'm going with the movie. And it's because of that feeling of magic I mentioned. The movie is a joy to watch. It left me exhilarated and happy. The book is good, it's a solid piece of writing, and possibly the best of Rowling's work. But the movie is extraordinary, not only for the work of Alfonso Cuaron, but by everyone who worked on it. It's a great piece of movie making that was made by a lot of master craftsmen. Side notes. I actually watched the entire 10-minute credit sequence on the movie because it was really fun. The credits play a medley of John Williams songs from the movie, which was really good, but the credits flow over a version of the Marauders map, with footprints walking along through the map. I became engrossed in the progress of these footprints and realized that they go to a ton of places. I've never given a shout out for the end credits sequence in a movie, but this one was great. If you do go rewatch the movie, watch the whole credits sequence. It's really fun. And that's it for me today. Next up is the origins of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which for once is comparatively simple as it's 90% Dickens. So if you're at all curious where the plot for this book came from, check out my other video. Thanks for listening. This is Rose with Rose Colored Movies.